Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 160 of So What's Been Happening Tonight. It is the 11th of the 11th, November, Remembrance Day. So we must make sure we put up a little remembrance banner for today, lest we forget. Hopefully you all paid your respects as we always do, but we're just going to take a second now to pay our respects to all that have served this unbelievable country of ours, and all those who continue to do great work to try and bring peace to the world. Sadly, it's something we haven't been able to overcome after all these years. So I'd like to just thank everyone that puts their heart, soul on the line, and also goes away and tries to do what we're trying to do, is to try and keep peace and spread the word of love. And that's what tonight is really very much about, the romantic rebellion. It's episode 160. We spoke to Justine McAllister on episode 113, which was not so long ago. So we've actually gone through a fair few episodes, but Justine has been incredibly busy during this time. And her latest exhibition, Romantic Rebellion, is a great title, that's for sure. We'll just bring up the quick little snippet of the little logo that's been done for it. So I look forward to chatting to Justine shortly. Just before we do, I bring her up, we're just going to have a little flick into the gallery. I was lucky enough to get there on the weekend and take a little snippet. So here's a little sneak peek. If you didn't pick up on it, little red dots are a good sign in the art world, that's for sure. Sometimes red dots mean pause. In this case, it means go, and it's a good thing. So let's bring Justine up and have a little chat. Let's wonder where we might find her tonight in lovely Melbourne. G'day, Justine. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me again. How are you going, Aaron?
Very good. All the better now for bringing you back on on the show. It's an exciting time for you.
It's been very busy, and I thought, like, since the show's up, we should do the talk here. You know, it's a good backdrop and gives context for the show. So I'm glad I could do it here.
Perfect, with a little bit of reverb, meaning a bit of echo. It's great, that which must mean you're in the space. It's a beautiful space.
It is. I think there's not a lot. I'll try and speak a bit quieter to see if we can minimise the reverb.
Okay.
It's 45 downstairs, 45 Flinders Lane in Melbourne, and it reminds me a bit more like a New York gallery. And I think there aren't that many sort of white wall underground galleries like this. I think it's sort of New York style. There aren't any windows in it. You sort of you feel like you're in a little portal or something like that. So I was really attracted to the space for that reason. And I think there's been a bit of a push to do really transformative shows where you completely, change the space. But I think for these works, I just wanted a really beautiful, clean gallery to make the work sing. So I'm so lucky to exhibit here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to bring up this image here that'll give the feel and flavour for this beautiful space. We talked about not many windows, but there's an incredible set of windows just at the end there, which captures just the beautiful, peaceful approach that this whole gallery kind of inspires. Well, beautifully lit. The timber floor, the creaks on the floor really feel like it absolutely could be in New York. So unbelievable little gallery in Flinders Lane.
Forgot about those big windows. Yeah, they've got big windows, but I guess they've got frosted covers on them at the moment, so you do feel like you're in a portal. There's a construction site out there at the moment running throughout the week, so they're trying to separate the gallery space from the construction.
Okay, beautiful. Well, tell me a little bit about the inspiration for this particular show. It's been a body of work, I guess you'd say, as they always are for exhibitions. But why this exhibition for you now? And obviously, there's a little. I've been a purveyor of your art over time, and there's a little change and a tweak to your style. And just tell me a little bit about the theme and how this story came about.
So the show's called Romantic Rebellion, and it's been something I've been cooking up for maybe 2 years. I've been thinking about it at least. I think, like everyone, times have been a bit tough at the moment financially, and there's just a bit of stress and strain on everyone one way or the other. And I haven't had the opportunity to make a lot of personal work. And while I was doing a lot of commercial jobs, I was just thinking about painting these paintings just over and over and over. So it's been a long time thinking, but not a long time painting. So Romantic Rebellion is my rebellion against the idea of perfection. It's something that I've always struggled with. I remember my prep teacher having a talk to me about perfection. And I don't know, whether it's I really absorb what people expect of me and put that on myself, or whether it's my views of the world and I think things should be a certain way, or whether I need to adhere to those to fit in. And this show was like, no, I really want to make the work I want to make. I want to use paint the way that paint shouldn't be used. I want to do textiles. I want to do print. I want to do it all and somehow create a cohesive body of work. And I think as well, I've always found that I'm not really in the fine art world. I'm a mural artist. I do a bit of design. And I love all those areas. And I've sort of felt the need to excel in one of those. But I'm like, how about I create a body of work that kind of encapsulates all those and just try and excel in my own lane and create something else, and rather than have this expectation of success in one of those. And these works are full of chaos, good and bad chaos. There are hands, flowers, fire, and very flamboyant, theatrical symbols. So chaos, good and bad, but all of the people in the paintings seem pretty calm. So I guess this body of work is about self-acceptance, about trying to find some kind of a feeling of being content within all of the noises and the chaos of modern life, which is really hard to do. So quite a vulnerable body of work in a way, which I was really nervous about, but I'm actually like really proud of it, and it's something that I want to continue on with soon. So that's romantic for you.
Well, that's really important that you can get into a different body of work and at the end of it really feel that you've found a bit of a connection and you found a direction for also what you want to extend further, which is really nice. So to take a couple of these pieces in, obviously we touched on the space there, but let's just talk about this one in particular. So this is obviously one of the prints. Tell me how about this one came about, and where in amongst all the artistic influence did this one land?
This one's called Bolt. It's a feeling of happy release or happy escape. So I think I like to use the idea of metaphor or symbol or character rather than take things literally. The man in it is really happy, and he's surrounded by this like idea of action, of fleeing. And it's funny enough, I was talking to my high school art teacher a while ago, and he said something like, whatever you love painting and drawing, you're kind of like doing the same form of that for the rest of your life. And I was like, no way, I'll always like, I'll evolve and all this. And then I'm like, I was painting dogs and horses when I was like 3, you know what I mean? So in a lot of these works, the figures have companions, often dogs and horses. They're probably my favorite animals, but I love the shapes they make as well. So I think like the idea of like going through life, having a companion, and it's a symbol. It could be a person, it could be a little animal. I think like, we can't do this, like live life as a solo entity. We've got to do this together. So I think there's always some kind of little friends with you in my paintings. So yeah, the work is like a release and escape. And a lot of artists have identified with that work or like drawn attention to it. So it's funny you selected that one.
Well, that's just a random place to start, but this is an incredible, beautiful piece. Talk to me about it. This one, it's the color really struck me first of all.
It's
I think
super vibrant in life, like the green almost glows. I think like with the paintings, so some of them are wilder than others, and this one I sort of want to have a moment of rest. It's called Slumber. So a moment of release, a moment of calm, and a nap, like sense of nourishment. And the skull is like just a beautiful symbol that a lot of artists love using. But maybe she's having a nightmare, or maybe there's something dark, just sitting beside her while she's dreaming, and she just, has got a moment of, I don't know, rest or peace, even though there might be something dark or something just there next to it. Because, no one can live a life without a hiccup or a catastrophe or a problem or something. I think it's, I'm getting older, I'm trying to like make peace with that. Like life is always going to be complicated. So how do you find the best out of moments? So yeah, that's what this piece means.
Yeah, and a beautiful symbolism there with the hand on the skull too. Just talk to me about that one. Is that the discussion in relation to at peace with something dark maybe?
Yeah, I think when I make these works, it's funny. I've tried to I've always been a terrible overthinker. Like I think a lot of creatives are. I've tried to just. I think the symbols have come to me first, and I've put them together, and then sort of thought, okay, if I put like a cat and a person in a skull, like what do they look like together? Even the hands in my works, like pushing and pulling, is that conveying the kind of mood or theme that I want of the work. Some are quite peaceful, some are quite dynamic and a lot of tension. So I guess the hand is a connection to the skull, it's sort of there. The woman's aware the skull is there. That's what it's. And I do love still lifes. I always have. Even when I was like a kid in kinder, I loved like a really classical still life with a skull and a vase for some reason. Yeah. So this show as well, like I've tried to put as much of myself into it. I think I've been really shy of doing that as well. Probably some childhood stuff got to unpack there. But I used to dance when I was a kid, and, you know, the beads and on our costumes, and I love drag now, and I love theatre, and I was like, I want to bring beads into my work. I wanted to do fashion for a fleeting moment when I didn't know that art was a viable career. So I'm like, let's try and bring as much of me and my personality and my loves into the work. The beads that I've used for some of the textile pieces, my grandma used to have, they're called bugle beads, the little glass beads. And I used to thread them with my sister and make little necklaces out of. And I was like, I want to try and get the same beads just because it's got that connection to me, you know, like it's my own personality into the work. And my sister saw one of the pieces and she was like, oh, they're Nan's beads. So I think I'm like not shy of putting myself into the work, which is something that I've really struggled with. Well, Aaron, I think we've lost you.
Yeah.
Yep, we've got you again.
Got a meltdown. Feel free to continue. Sorry, you're just touching on the beads.
Oh yeah, I was just bringing elements of my life into my work, which I was shy of doing before. So I think next body of work, next paintings, I'm going to try and elaborate on that and bring more personality in me, because I know the artists that I love the most are the ones that the work is so unique to them. It's what makes it special. Like in this industry, uniqueness is this, you know, the sweet spot. So I'm not trying to fight that anymore. Trying to just let my uniqueness try and just come out in the work.
Yeah, well, you've definitely done that. There's so much variety in amongst these pieces as well, but so much beauty in the simplicity and the detail. We touched on companions again, and is there anything better than a dog or a cat or someone close to you that doesn't judge you?
Exactly. Yeah, anyone knows me. I've got 2 dogs. I'm a crazy dog lady. So it stemmed from a watercolor picture. This is companion 2. I had companion 1. It was a work I did last year. And it's just like, even just having something next to you, it doesn't have to be interacting with you. It's just someone by your side is a great comfort. So I wanted this work to be a bit simpler and just hone in on the comfort of having a companion.
And the simplicity of color, but such a beautiful combination in amongst some of these pieces. The pieces that are so simple look so simple, and you make it beautifully. Have done that. Where does the magic of the color palette come together for you? What really inspires you? Obviously fashion has been one, but what else kind of do you draw from when you think of how you're combining color?
Mine may be a bit of an annoying answer, but colour is something I don't struggle with as much. Composition is, drawing, getting likenesses. Colour seems to come first for me. And even like it's the steal like an artist thing. Like if I see a photograph that's got an incredible colourway, I will like grab the colourway and colour pick colours out of it. And the end result I come up with is nothing like the original, but it's just, or even looking at like in like a colour wheel, the relationship of the colours to each other and why they work. And I think the beauty of when you've got lots of bright colours, throwing in a dirty colour will balance it so well. It makes the bright colours sing. If you've got bright colours only, they seem to just fight for each other and there's no hierarchy in there. Yep. So yeah, and this painting behind me doesn't look anything like it, but I always loved a 1991 Versace fashion show, and it's like the heyday of Cindy Crawford, Claudia Schiffer, Naomi Campbell, and they've got these black, bejeweled again, beautiful couture pieces on, and they've got this dark background with these like fiery pops of colour on them, and I knew I just wanted to bring it into my art, and it's something that I hadn't been able to do with my mural work. So the colour palette as well was very inspired by that Versace show that I've just had on in my, in the back of my mind for a really long time, and I've loved it ever since I was a kid.
Isn't it funny how these little subliminal or things that you don't think are as relevant in your childhood come up and you pop you later when you draw on inspirations. And I love these little detailings that you've done. You touched on the beads before, but just a great sense of dimension in some of your stuff. I really love how you've combined the textural components of a few of these pieces?
I was very like crafty as a kid. Used to make clothes for my Barbies and houses, and used to sew and things like that. I was always making something, like a lot of creatives were. But it's an idea as well of bringing something, the idea of craft, something quite feminine, to paintings and to a fine art gallery space, and, you know, beating fire, making it a bit more bold and somewhat masculine. So I love the idea of playing with that. And I guess as well, it creates focal points. Like with this painting here, flower bed, there's embroidery on the features of the figures, but also the fingernails and the nipple as well. So your eye bounces around the work, and yeah, I don't know. It's a contrast of texture as well, like in food. Like there's beauty in contrast. So I think it adds interest.
It definitely does that. That's for sure. It's hard to. Yeah, your eyesight draws to a few things, but then you stand back and look at the overall piece, and there's just so much to capture. So, in amongst all those pieces, even the real detailed cutouts, or cut, cut through to sections, have been done beautifully well. So, how many pieces form this exhibition?
It's 16 pieces all up, and 6 of them are prints. So I wanted to create like a variety of price points for people, and I think I said as well, I wouldn't be happy just doing paintings, just doing textile works. I feel like my monkey brain needs to do a bit of everything, and it's nice exploring the one idea in different mediums as well, and trying to make a cohesive body of work. It's not easy, but it just felt more satisfying that way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this one. It's one of these, and I'm not just saying it to tell you because you're on here, but there's not a piece I didn't think I'd connected with, which was really cool. I don't know, hopefully that's been the reaction in amongst the show so far. How has the reaction been? From what I can see, as I mentioned, lots of red dots are good signs. So in today's economy, when things are a little bit tough for people, how has the reaction been?
Oh, it's really nice of you to say. I was just convinced the show was going to be a dumpster fire failure. I think it was just the the anxiety of putting so much of myself into the work. And there've been a couple of moments this week where my husband had to talk me through, it's all going to be okay. We did the whole, like, if 0 pieces sell, it's still me creating my own work. Like, sure. I need to remember why I create work. Like, when I was a kid, I created work for like the excitement of it, for therapy, to explore who I am, to say everything I can't say with words or writing. But I did receive a really lovely response, which was really nice. And a few of my artist friends who said they've been in a bit of a creative roadblock at the moment, or maybe they've been feeling the same, worried about putting themselves into work or make wilder work. They said, I'm going to go for it too. And I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's make crazy work, because there's been very much a conservative push in the mural scene. I think a lot of murals in Australia, also globally, are starting to look quite similar, and there isn't a lot of variety, and it's being sort of dictated what's acceptable for public art and what's not, and people are very scared of offending the public. And get you wrong, I don't want to put anything that's like not appropriate for children like in public, or my agenda isn't really to like provoke in public, but I just feel like there's like trends in the public art space that if you're not in those, you sort of don't get a shoe in. It's a shame. I think it should be like a national gallery where there's a variety of everything. So people sort of had a bit of a chat about that as well, how I think being a bit wilder in our personal work, we could try and bring that into the public art space. I don't know how successfully, but it's just it's a thought.
Sure. I wanted to just draw on the similarity between, say, a band and an artist, and puts out a first album, gets known for a bit of a sound or a look. What inspired you, or who was it, or how was it that came together now to kind of just break you and give you the confidence to say, I'm going to do this and this direction now? What What was it? Because I'm really intrigued at what in today's world where you said everything gets a little bit vanilla or the same, and that's your kind of perception or that's what you hear. You kind of judge by, the second album you release, in this case, a multiple exhibit down the track of something different. What happened? What inspired you here?
It was the hours and hours of painting.
Self-torture.
It's painting I didn't want to paint. And I never want to sound that ungrateful for the amazing opportunities I've had with clients, and often clients are there to satisfy another client, and it's the way it is. And the scene in Australia, we do get paid well for mural work, so I never want to sound ungrateful for that. But as a whole, it's the hours of painting trams and coffee cups and koalas. I'm like, I want to, I have the need to create, like, I've got like a catalogue of all of the public art that I've made. I do digital work, renditions of them before we do the final. And I've got like 35 koalas, 45 trams. Like, it's just like, it's a cut and paste brief every time. People in Melbourne feeling the need to reiterate that we're in Melbourne. And I'm like, no, like, you're hiring artists. How about we create something that's a landmark for the space? Why do we have to paint Flinders Street Station when we can look over the road and there's Flinders Street Station right there? You know what I mean? So,
sure, absolutely.
I think site-specific work is appropriate sometimes, but the need for just difference, I think if you've got different art, it just opens up people's minds of being a bit more open-minded in other areas of their life as well. And another thing, like with public art, people disengage if they see the same wall 20 times. So it's not good for the industry as well. I want me and my friends to be painting really great things and create interest for people and get more jobs and just create a thriving culture. So yeah, to circle back, it was hours and hours of stewing on this idea. And I don't think my paintings would make perfect pieces for public art. Some would, some wouldn't. But it's a step. I think I just needed to go all the way and push what I want to push. And the gallery space is, a safe space to do that. So I think it was just me exploding all my thoughts and feelings through those hours. So it was all internal, to be quite honest, the push to change.
So there's a lot of sense of romance there, but also that rebellion, right? So it's a nice tie-in that you have been rebellious enough to push your own boundary, I guess you'd say. So what was the first piece you kind of put together? And then did that kind of then just draw the inspiration? Tell me about how a 16-piece kind of collaboration for yourself comes together to form an exhibition. Where do you start? Obviously start with an idea and a concept, but where does it continue to flush out and grow legs, and from that opportunity, that first one?
It's too daunting to think of it as a whole, I think. I knew I wanted the concept, I had the name, I knew I wanted to wear red gloves on the opening night, so that was the most important thing.
Yeah, beautiful. Get that part sorted. What am I going to wear on the night? Perfect.
Absolutely. I had more elaborate plans, but run out of time. That's the next show. That's for show number 3. I created the velvet hanging piece.
Yes.
I kind of wanted it to be a bit like maybe altarpiece, or have the same kind of the same presence as something an altar would be. Like, it's not religious or tied to anything like that, but the idea of having this explosion of ideas, something that you could sit in front of and contemplate. And from there, I was realizing that I was painting people and figures and the emotions of those figures, and horses and dogs and fire and flowers. And to be quite honest, I wrote a list and I was like, I love painting dogs, horses, people, colour. And I was like, make a show about that. You love these things for a certain reason. Don't overcook it. Keep painting those things and think about more of the energy you want the pieces to have, whether it's serenity, calmness, wildness. Use those as like visual language to create the mood that you want to create. Because I think I can overcook things way too much in my head before they even start, and then you get the white canvas and you're scared and you move on. So just taking it one step at a time. I did the banner and then I did the painting behind next. And then I was like, the work needs some space to breathe, some quieter moments. So that's when I painted the person caressing the dog and the two lovers painting. And I think it was just like, what does the work need next? So it was very one piece at a time, to be quite honest. And the prints came last, which was push and pulling elements from the paintings and adding the bits in and seeing if there are any gaps that I needed. So I'm not someone who could work on multiple pieces at once. It's just too much. I feel like my monkey brain needs just like, you're doing this now, finish it, do the next one.
Yep.
So yeah, that was the process of the work.
Okay. And your choice of textures and substrates, how does that kind of come about, and how did we end up, like you touched on that large mural here and beautiful symmetry in amongst your pieces with this one in particular, but why for you was it that style and the scale? You know, where do you get the sense of that scale from? How do you know when the size is going to be right for what you feel? How does that kind of come about for you? Can you just touch on that a bit?
So I think there's embracing parameters. The workers are printed velvet, and just how wide can I print it? Great.
Okay, yeah.
If they could print it 10 meters, I probably would do something stupid like that.
Yep.
So it's really embracing parameters and working within those. But I knew I wanted the piece to be really regal and lush, so the velvet had to be for that piece. And for whatever piece I chose, the texture or the work, it was just what the work needed. I didn't want to be like, it's silly to have textiles next to paintings, next to prints. I just wanted to let go of all of that. I almost wanted the risk of it not coming together and being a dumpster fire, as I was saying, but just trying to make the strongest pieces as possible. I think a trap that artists can fall into, and I fall into as well, you stick so strongly to a theme, and like every frame has to be this color, all the backgrounds have to be this color, and then there's like 2 or 3 pieces that are a bit weaker because of it. I just tried to make every piece as strong as it was within itself, and try and think, would I hang this in my house as a piece? Does it read as I want to? Does it read as a standalone piece rather than needing the whole body of work to explain it? Because no one's going to buy the whole show. I mean, it'd be nice. I'm not quite there yet.
It'd be nice if someone had a beautiful downstairs or upstairs apartment studio like you're displaying at 45 downstairs. What a great spot. But yeah, it would be beautiful, wouldn't it? Here's the dates. Well, 8th to the 11th it kicked off, but tell me a little bit about how long's the show run for, and just hit us with the address again.
Yeah, it's 45 downstairs, Flinders Lane, so 45 Flinders Lane in Melbourne. Runs till this Saturday. I'm doing an artist talk this Saturday as well for anyone who'd like to come along. Doing a Q&A with Jack Rowland. He's an incredible artist, a really good interviewer. So really looking forward to that. I've worked with Jack a couple of times, and it'd be good to have a bit of with someone that I know. I'm confirming the times for that, so I guess people should just follow Instagram to find out when it will be.
Beautiful. Gives us a beautiful little segue into making sure we push your Instagram. There's the handle for Justine McAllister. You're looking up on Instagram, and make sure you give it a big like and follow, and check out some of Justine's other work as well. So that's the exhibition.
Yeah.
It's been amazing, to say the least. It's been a ride for you. How are the stress levels now? And tell me, was there what was the biggest challenge for you in amongst this one?
I'm finally starting to get tired. There was so many nights I got 0 sleep, or like 2.5 hours of sleep, like not healthy stuff. I said I would not do it to myself, but my jobs this year, I was getting work that I couldn't turn down, and the time frame that I had to do the show was extremely tight. The biggest problem was me in my head. Like, I'm surrounded by very supportive people. I'm really lucky to have some really good artist mates and supportive partner, but me just thinking that it's not going to sell, it's not going to be received well. And I said to myself, try and create an opinion of the work that's objective, that is what I think. Like, don't let good and bad colour you, because that's not going to help me as an artist and move forward. And also, at the end of the day, when it's just me and the canvas in my studio, that's my everyday. And I have to be happy, and I have to love the work, and I have to love the process of doing the work. Because I can paint quite realistically, and a lot of realistic work gets a lot of traction, but I didn't love the process. So I'm like, let it go. You know, like, don't look at realistic people's like followers, don't let, and I've such awe for the skill and I love it, but it's not me. I don't have the personality for it. So it's also, this work's about like cultivating a practice that suits my personality, that knowing it's not about embracing bad habits, but just trying to almost embrace the flaws. Going, I'm a bit of a scatterbrain, I've got attention span of a gnat, paint like that. And my brushstrokes have loosened up, and I've really enjoyed slopping the paint around, and the brushstrokes are not as overcooked as some of my older paintings where I really like laboured against them, and I was like, oh, you can tell that didn't come easy, you can see the work in it, but it's just, it's the expectations we put on ourselves, I think, is the hardest thing to overcome with anything like this. And a lot of artists, I think, are very, very hard on themselves. So it's trying to escape from that.
Well, hopefully this gives you a bit more confidence and belief in your new direction of where you're at right now. This is an incredible exhibition. There's not many pieces left from my understanding as far as for sale, but some prints for sure for some people. It would be nice to continue to sell those prints. So obviously people can jump on your Instagram and follow the links through and have a look at the gallery if they can't get there on the weekend, and prints and stuff will be available. But must be super positive and a beautiful feeling to understand or know that these pieces are going to take, say, 16 new homes in amongst walls and be a Justine McAllister story for years to come.
There's nothing better than the feeling of someone buying your personal work, even over a mural, for me at least, because often murals are a collaboration of ideas, but these really are a little piece of your soul when you do your personal work. And for someone to connect with something that I chose everything with, I think that's the most proud things, and I think a lot of artists feel like that as well.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And I want to touch on to finish one of my absolute loves, and it's so great that you've been able to honour it. For me, is the Great Pearl Jam. So I must touch on your other side of your visual arts, I guess you'd say, in the illustration space. But this was one of the pieces you did for one of the concerts in Chicago at probably the greatest stadium that Pearl Jam played in respect of this whole story behind Wrigley Field, and It Takes Two or Take Two trailer or video movie there in the end, mockumentary that they put out a couple of years ago, and this show honored it on last year's, was it last year's tour or this year? It was early this year.
It was, that one was August this year.
Yeah, so that's gone quick enough and exciting. How did this piece kind of come together? It's got a bit of a feel of, how this kind of show started to progress. I saw a little bit of a different style for you. Was this a bit of a outpouring of kind of where you were heading or directing? Kind of how did this one come about?
It's funny you say that, because I didn't realize till I looked at my Instagram the other day and I go, oh, there was a turn before I knew it. The piece being in Chicago, I've always loved the World's Fair posters, the old vintage posters for the World's Fair that were all around the world. And I think it was 1933, if I remember correctly, there was the Chicago poster. and it had a very similar colorway with the female figure holding standing on the globe, with there was two figures underneath her. They've got the Chicago skyline behind it, and I wanted to do my like psychedelic modern take on that. So the composition is the same, but I've changed the elements and made it far more wacky, and tried to inject myself into it. So that's how that piece came about.
Fantastic. And Pearl Jam hit Australia in the next few days, which is really cool. They play up on the Gold Coast. I think it is first in Australia. They're in New Zealand at the moment, then end up in Melbourne for a Saturday and a Monday show, which is really cool. So there's not many tickets left. Pretty much the first show sold out Marvel. Second one is very close to selling out. So if you're an old Pearl Jam fan or want to take your kid and tell them how good Pearl Jam are, because that's really cool to do that too. I'm taking my son and son-in-laws to be, which is really cool. We did the same at Foo Fighters, which is another massive love of mine. So to do it with Pearl Jam again, they haven't been here for a number of years. It's a 10 plus at least. I think it's more like 13, I think someone said, which is really bizarre. Time definitely kicks on. I'm a little bit older than I used to be, so I'm not sure the mosh pit's for me really right now, but maybe it's not for Eddie Vedder either. Let's see. But it's exciting that you're back, or you're doing band posters again. One of your loves?
They're doing the posters.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful experience doing those. And the client has given me heaps of freedom with the posters, and Pearl Jams themselves has really lets the artists go and do what they want, which is super cool and unheard of. So they hire the artist to respond to the city maybe, or just draw on something of the location, or maybe not. Sometimes they just want to champion artists and create pieces that are great for their fans. So, and they're super open-minded and love, creativity. So it's been a really great experience.
I think it's really unique now, isn't it? That the art combination and the artists have been really able to connect with bands. There's always been a music culture in amongst art and vice versa, but to see them combine so well now, a lot of the big bands are doing it, but a lot of the smaller bands are starting to embrace it too. They may not be able to do one for each show like some of the bigger bands do, but even the indie bands in around Melbourne and Australia are starting to embrace these smaller kind of gig posters. What that forms is a massive collection for the collectors out there that they are worth a bit of money at the end of the day, especially signed by artists and signed by bands in some instances, or just a replica print. So really exciting that that's happening to inspire the art world as well.
And it proves people still have love of print media as well. People love, we live in such a digital era at the moment, but those posters are screen printed and people notice. They're like, oh, these are different. They even smell different. They've got like the smell of the screen. And they're like, what's this? And I go, oh, it's a screen printing ink. So this unusual smell, but just the way the colours react with each other, it's not a digital print. So yeah, it's special. It's nice to know. It's just nice seeing people loving art in all different capacities, from their love of the band. It's great.
Yeah, and I'll just touch on, when you're putting a poster together like that, do you do anything different to you do when you're thinking about how you're going to put something together from a painting point of view, like whether that be detail or whether that be the use of color in amongst you? You're very lucky that color comes naturally to you, because a lot of artists fight with the color, and is it ever right? But do you find yourself in illustration mode or drawing mode in amongst posters? When's enough? Or do you just kind of keep touching it digitally because you can?
It's enough when it's due. It's like, what's that quote?
Yeah, sure.
What's the quote? A painting's never finished, just merely abandoned. Like,
Yep.
Not that you want to leave things last minute. I think after time, you sort of get an eye for when you overcook design a little bit. It's sort of a sense of panic, I feel, until something feels balanced and nice. And it sounds a bit woo-woo, but it's just a feeling. You go, oh, okay, like it feels fine, or there's a gap there, or it feels bottom heavy. It's just an eye that's sort of like, you sort of know when things are a bit more harmonious or not. And I put posters together the same way I put together paintings, to be quite honest. And actually something I hadn't really thought about. I will rip like statues, limbs, like, you know, classical statues, put arms and figures and skeletons, and then draw over them and take them off, change the colours and warp them and make them different. So I've got a really original image. I think drawing from scratch with no backbones is really, like, I don't know, so stabbing in the dark a little bit, even putting in some block colour in the background to know where your lights and darks are so you can respond to those with the images on top. I treat them very similar, to be quite honest. It's that Frankensteining collage, like, kind of process. And I always know, the first thing you do though, when you've got type, you put that in first. You go, I've got to deal with that, and then I can get creative. So.
Okay, creative around the type. No
exactly. With this one, I tried to integrate it a bit more. In the Chicago poster, I weaved the images in and around it, so that I tried to use it a bit more as an object rather than type in itself, which I think it worked. So
yeah, beautiful. All right, so do you feel like you've earned yourself a break now in the lead up to Christmas, or is it righto, that's done, that was great, but now I've actually got to catch up on the other paying jobs?
Yeah, I do. Yep. There was a couple of my clients came to my show and I was like, this is the reason your project got pushed out. Very understanding though. So I've got to do those, and then I'm off to Japan for a residency first week of December. So I'm doing a residency in Japan where I make work for 3 weeks and have a little mini show in East Tokyo. So there's no break, no, but incredibly exciting though.
Perfect. Well, as I've got to know you in true Justine McAllister style, you've bitten off more than you can chew, but you've absolutely delivered right to the death knock. Do you ever find yourself, or will there ever be a time when Justine McAllister makes art, finishes that exhibition, then books the space and exhibits it? Or do you feel like you're going to book the space, then keep working and finish it as the people walk in for almost the last and the launch of the night? Are you ever going to relieve that pressure on yourself?
There were no wet paintings, that's a good
Fantastic.
thing. I heard that there are many a wet painting on the walls for the opening, so I can pride myself in that. It's weird. I really want to get to that spot. I think it's back to the self-confidence thing. I think it's weird when I'm so busy. Sometimes I'll sit down with a pad and paper and I'm like, do some drawings, just to try and enjoy the process. But I'll only have 3 hours that week to have a play. And there's something about it that is like, this better be good. This, like, while I've been dreaming about doing my own work, while I've been painting, like this little like pressure cooker of, you know, self-worth, like, you know, this is your personal work. You've been wanting to do this. This has to be amazing. And it can give me immense stage fright of making my own work. And even like I could crumple it up and not see the light of day. Me looking at a page, looking at a bad drawing is a bit too much to deal with. So that is something that I'm really trying to overcome, is experiment and make bad work and be okay with it and remove self-worth from it. Like, I'm like, if I make a bad painting, I'm still going to have all my friends and family and I've still got the skills. Like, it's not like the skills are gone. You've just, like, it's so silly, you know, but it's just the voices in your head. So I really want to get to the point where I've got a continual practice even without a show in mind, because I've very much in the past needed a gun to my head to make the work. I needed that deadline. So that's the new goal. That's 2025, is to make work for the work's sake, to enjoy making the work. And although the work for this show was such a sprint, there was some moments where I had my dogs next to me, I had RuPaul's Drag Race on, I had a cup of coffee, and I was like in my pajamas, looking like a sea creature, and I was like, I'm like, this is great. If this could be my everyday, this would be amazing. Because longevity of my career, I still love doing murals and want to do walls for as long as I physically can, but they are extremely exhausting, and I would love to have more and more of a gallery fine art career alongside it. So that's the plan of trying to weave into this space for the future.
Beautiful. Well, that sounds like a little tribute to the future for you, Justine. It'd be great to reconnect again. Maybe we can reconnect when you're in Japan. Who knows? We can dial in and get a little sneak preview of where things are up to in amongst your
I
chaos
love
of your world.
that.
So we might try and plan that. So feel free to hit me up anytime and we'll organise that. But look, thank you for joining me on episode 160. It's 50 odd episodes roughly since you last came on. It's really exciting to have you back. Let's not make it another 50.
So you've got to do 50 before until the end of the year.
That's a deadline. It's a deadline for me too. All right. Well, the good news is you're on your way in a month's time. So you've got a couple more murals to get done in amongst the next couple of weeks. It's going to go quickly. So enjoy.
It will. Thank you so much for having me back. It's always a pleasure chatting.
No problem. Look forward to jumping on that Instagram.com/Justine McAllister. Make sure you get all your details there. Thanks, Justine. We'll see you out there soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Beautiful. Loved having a chat to Justine again, connecting again. What a show. Honestly, as Molly Meldrum would say, do yourself a favor. You haven't got long. You got this week. Get down there, experience it. Go down by yourself or take a friend. Get immersed in art space. It's beautiful to sit there and reflect and be inspired by other people, whether that be music, whether that be art, whether that be life or just general chats. It's amazing what grounding will do to sit in a room in an environment like that and be inspired by someone's art and tell yourself a story on what you believe some of that art kind of connects with you. There, I challenge you. So get out there amongst it and we'll see you out there in the big wide world soon. But for this Saturday and Monday, it's Pearl Jam time. See you out there.